There is a moment most men never realize is happening until it has already passed, a quiet shift where admiration turns into expectation and affection hardens into entitlement. At first, it feels like success. She laughs more easily, she reaches out more often, she says she feels safe with you, understood by you, chosen by you. And because no one ever warned you what that safety can turn into, you lean in harder, you give more, you soften your edges, you begin proving instead of standing. That is the moment the balance starts to move against you. Being loved feels intoxicating because it touches something old and unhealed. It speaks directly to the part of a man that wants to be enough without resistance, accepted without friction, chosen without having to maintain tension or authority. Love, in its early form, feels like rest, and rest is seductive to men who have been carrying pressure for too long. But psychology is cruel in one specific way. What feels like rest to you often feels like predictability to her, and predictability kills polarity. Respect does not feel warm. It does not feel comforting. It does not flood the body with reassurance. Respect feels colder, more distant, sometimes even frustrating, but it does something love alone never can. It preserves structure. It keeps weight in your presence. It maintains consequence in your absence. When a woman respects you, she is aware at all times that you could walk away intact. When she only loves you, she slowly learns that you cannot. This is where men misunderstand the danger. The danger is not that a woman stops caring overnight. The danger is that she starts taking you for granted while still claiming to care. Love without respect does not disappear loudly, it erodes quietly. She still texts, she still shows up, she still says the words, but the way she listens changes, the way she responds changes, the way she handles your boundaries changes. And most men respond to this erosion by trying to earn back what they never should have tried to earn in the first place. The psychology is simple and brutal. What you chase, you lower yourself beneath. What you overprotect, you teach others to undervalue. What you give endlessly without cost stops feeling valuable, not because she is evil, but because the human nervous system adapts. The more you center your emotional stability around her approval, the more pressure you place on her to carry your sense of worth. And pressure suffocates attraction faster than cruelty ever could. Respect is born from contrast, from the knowledge that you have limits, from the experience that access to you is not guaranteed, from seeing that your world does not pause when her emotions fluctuate. Love, when unguarded, invites fusion. Respect requires separation. And separation is what allows desire to breathe. Men who aim to be loved first often confuse emotional availability with emotional submission. They mistake vulnerability for exposure without containment. They reveal everything too early, adapt too quickly, forgive too easily, and negotiate their own standards in the name of harmony. What they are really doing is teaching her that their internal state is reactive to her behavior. Once that lesson is learned, even unconsciously, the dynamic is no longer equal. She is no longer responding to you. She is managing you. Respect is strategic because it anchors the relationship in reality rather than emotion. It says, without words, that you choose her, but do not need her to function. It communicates that you value connection, but will not abandon yourself to maintain it. This creates a subtle tension that keeps her attentive, not anxious, not fearful, but aware. Awareness is where attraction survives long term. Notice how different this feels from manipulation. There is no game here, no tricks, no cruelty. It is simply the refusal to collapse your identity into another person. It is the discipline of remaining grounded in yourself even when affection is offered freely. Many men fail this test because affection feels like proof of worth. They accept love as a verdict instead of a bonus, and the moment love becomes proof, you are no longer leading yourself. A woman can love a man she does not respect. She cannot desire him for long. Desire requires friction. It requires uncertainty. It requires the sense that you are solid enough to resist being absorbed. When she respects you, she measures her words more carefully. This is why men who are endlessly accommodating often find themselves confused by sudden coldness. Nothing dramatic happened. No betrayal, no argument. Just a slow shift where she stopped responding to your presence with curiosity and started responding with expectation. You became reliable in the wrong way, predictable in your availability, certain in your forgiveness. And certainty removes urgency. Respect keeps urgency alive, not through fear, but through dignity, not through distance, but through self-possession. It reminds her that your attention is a choice, not an obligation, that your commitment is strong, but not desperate, that you are present because you want to be, not because you would collapse if you weren't. Most men are taught to chase love as a reward. Very few are taught to preserve respect as a foundation. And foundations are not felt in the beginning. They are revealed over time when pressure enters the relationship and something has to hold the weight. Most men do not lose respect all at once. They give it away in small, well-intended moments that feel harmless in isolation, but devastating in accumulation. It happens when he explains himself one time too many, when he apologizes for things that required no apology, when he over-clarifies his intentions out of fear of being misunderstood. Each of these actions seems generous, each one feels mature, but psychologically, they communicate something else entirely, that he is uncomfortable standing firm in the presence of her displeasure. Respect is not destroyed by mistakes. It is destroyed by how a man responds to discomfort. A woman watches closely when tension appears, not consciously, not with calculation, but instinctively. She observes whether you stay rooted or begin adjusting yourself to keep the emotional temperature pleasant. The moment you prioritize emotional smoothness over self-alignment, you signal that your center of gravity has shifted outward, and once your center is no longer inside you, someone else will feel it. This is where love becomes dangerous. Love urges you to preserve connection at all costs. It whispers that harmony is the highest good. That disagreement is a threat. That discomfort must be resolved immediately. Respect, however, grows when a man can tolerate temporary friction without panic, when he can let silence exist, when he can allow her to feel disappointed without rushing to repair it. This restraint is not indifference, it is emotional confidence. Men often misunderstand confidence as dominance or bravado. In reality, confidence is the absence of urgency. It is the ability to remain steady while emotions move around you. When a man is respected, his reactions are measured. When he is chasing love, his reactions become predictable. Predictability gives others leverage over your mood. And once someone has leverage over your mood, the relationship stops being balanced. Another quiet way men erode respect is by over-investing too early. They offer commitment before consistency is proven. They offer reassurance before uncertainty is felt. They offer loyalty before boundaries are tested. This creates an emotional imbalance that love disguises as devotion. But devotion without discernment is not noble. It is naive, and naivete, no matter how kind, does not inspire respect. A woman does not need a man to be perfect. She needs him to be anchored. When a man is anchored, he does not renegotiate his values based on her reactions. He does not reshape his identity to fit her emotional weather. He remains recognizable to himself, even when the relationship is challenged. That recognizability is what creates psychological safety without sacrificing attraction. Love tempts men to merge. Respect requires men to remain whole. Merging feels intimate at first. Two lives folding into one, priorities intertwining, decisions becoming joint by default. But psychological merging removes polarity, and polarity is what keeps emotional charge alive. When everything becomes shared, nothing feels chosen. When everything is agreed upon, nothing feels earned. Notice how often men try to explain their worth instead of embodying it. They talk about their intentions, they list their sacrifices, they highlight their loyalty. But respect is not convinced by explanations. It is influenced by behavior under pressure. The man who stays calm when misunderstood. The man who does not chase when pulled away from. The man who does not overcorrect when challenged. These behaviors speak louder than any declaration of love. This is why men who are deeply loved but not respected often feel exhausted. They are constantly maintaining emotional equilibrium. They are constantly monitoring tone, timing, and reaction. They become emotional managers instead of grounded participants. And over time, this self-monitoring erodes their sense of self. They feel unseen, not because she does not see them, but because they stopped showing up as they are. Respect introduces consequences, not punishments. Consequences are simply the natural result of boundaries being crossed. A man who respects himself does not threaten. He does not bargain. He does not plead. He adjusts his presence. He withdraws his attention. He changes his availability, not to teach a lesson, but to remain aligned with himself. This self-alignment is felt immediately, even if it is not discussed. Love without respect asks, how can I keep this? Respect asks, who must I remain to stay whole? That difference determines everything. When a woman respects you, she does not feel free to behave carelessly with your emotions. She senses weight in your silence, meaning in your absence. She feels that losing you would cost her something real. When she only loves you, she may still fear losing you, but she does not feel the cost in the same way. Love fears loss. Respect acknowledges consequence. Most men chase reassurance when what they actually need is gravity. There is a common fear men carry when they begin to understand this dynamic. The fear that respect requires emotional withdrawal. That to be respected, they must become distant, cold, or unrecognizable to themselves. This fear keeps many men trapped in patterns they already know are failing. But the truth is more precise and more uncomfortable. Respect is not built by becoming less human. It is built by becoming less negotiable. You do not rebuild respect by pulling away dramatically. You rebuild it by stabilizing, by slowing your responses, by choosing when to engage instead of reacting automatically, by letting your yes and your no carry equal weight. The man who is respected is not always agreeable, but he is always consistent. Consistency is what the nervous system trusts. Emotional volatility, even when it looks passionate, erodes that trust over time. One of the most powerful shifts a man can make is learning to sit with his own discomfort without exporting it. When she is upset and you feel the urge to fix, explain, or soften the moment, pause. Ask yourself whether the action is aligned with your values or merely an attempt to relieve tension. When you stop treating her emotional state as your responsibility, something changes. Not instantly, not theatrically, but structurally. Respect returns when a woman feels that your presence is steady rather than reactive, that you can hold space without losing posture, that you do not collapse under emotional pressure. This steadiness allows intimacy to deepen without becoming consuming. It tells her, on a level words cannot reach, that you are safe to lean into without having to manage you in return. Another crucial element is reclaiming your life outside the relationship, not performatively, not as a tactic, but genuinely. When your days are full, your attention becomes valuable. When your purpose is active, your energy shifts. A man with a life does not need to assert boundaries loudly. His schedule does it for him. His commitments create natural limits, and limits are where respect lives. This does not mean withholding affection. It means offering it freely without attachment to outcome. When affection is given as a gift rather than a currency, it retains its value. When it is used to secure reassurance or prevent distance, it becomes transactional. Women feel this immediately, even if they cannot articulate it. The body knows when love is being used as leverage. There is also a quiet discipline in not oversharing your inner turbulence. Respect grows in these moments, in restraint, in timing, in the ability to say less and mean more, in the refusal to chase clarity when patience will reveal it anyway. Many men talk themselves out of respect by filling silence with explanation. Silence, when held calmly, often does more work than words ever could. Over time, the dynamic shifts. She becomes more attentive, more thoughtful in her communication, more aware of the weight of your presence, not because you demanded it, but because you stopped offering yourself without condition. You did not harden, you did not manipulate, you simply stopped abandoning yourself for the sake of being loved. And this is the core truth most men never hear clearly enough. Love is an emotion, respect is a response. Emotions fluctuate, responses are earned and maintained through behavior. When a man builds his relationships on being emotionally chosen rather than psychologically anchored, he will always feel unstable. When he builds them on self-respect first, love becomes a complement rather than a crutch. Being loved feels good. Being respected feels solid. One soothes, the other sustains. The men who suffer most are not unloved men. They are men who are loved but no longer taken seriously. Men whose presence has become familiar rather than meaningful. Men who gave everything and slowly lost themselves in the process. If this piece resonated, it is not because you are broken. It is because you recognized a pattern you have lived. Awareness is the beginning of change, but action is what solidifies it. If you want more content that breaks these dynamics down with honesty and depth, support the channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing. The link in the description helps keep this work going.